Okay, I think we're ready now. Right down here, Josh, with your dad. All right, welcome and good evening. Thank you all for coming out to our BandHall dedication for Dickinson's own Wade McDonald. Again, thank you for coming. At this point, I'm going to turn my microphone over to our superintendent, Mrs. Bolton.
Good evening. It is an honor to welcome you here this evening for this very special event recognizing Wade McDonald, a public educator who touched the lives of many in Dickinson ISD and across the state as he established a rich history of music excellence, music appreciation, and extraordinary leadership. Let me tell you the story of how we got here tonight. On June 23rd, Wade was inducted into the Texas Bandmasters Hall of Fame, a prestigious honor bestowed upon nominated retired music educators who have made a significant difference in the bands of Texas and who are highly respected for producing and maintaining a consistently outstanding band program. Upon notification of this honor, we made plans to have Wade recognized by the Board of Trustees. However, behind the scenes, Rachel Baker, Robert Baker, and John Hinojosa were having their own conversations about a special way to recognize Wade. And on Sunday, July 31st, I received an email from John, the designated email writer, with a proposal to rename the band hall at McAdams Junior High in honor of Wade. I immediately loved the idea and responded to John that we had a board meeting the following night and would put it on the agenda for discussion during executive session. Monday night, August 1st, the proposal was shared with the board and they overwhelmingly supported the idea. Monday, August 29th, Wade and his wife Jane came to the board meeting expecting the standard board recognition. To their surprise, the special recognition was followed by a recommendation to rename the band hall the Wade McDonald BandHall, and the board's unanimous approval made it official. We immediately started making plans, ordered special signage that will be unveiled shortly, and had hoped to have tonight's dedication in December. However, with so many fine arts concerts during the month of December, it became impossible to schedule. So here we are, launching the start of the new year with this special event and celebrating you, Wade, for your years of commitment and service to Dickinson ISD and for the incredible legacy you have given this district for music excellence, for providing students and families with experiences that have left memories in their hearts for a lifetime, and for being you, a shining beacon of God's light through your work, your love for students, your love for your family, and your genuine kindness to all. Although I arrived in Dickinson after you retired from being a full-time band director, I knew about you because of your stellar reputation and the continuous success of Dickinson ISD bands. Working with you while you served the district part-time as Fine Arts Director was a true pleasure. And the words of encouragement you provided to me, especially during the COVID challenges, are greatly appreciated and will never be forgotten. We are connected because of our time together here in Dickinson, but I also feel connected with you because you started your teaching career at BandHall Middle School and Spring ISD. And as we've talked about this before, I was in the very first 8th grade band at BandHall Middle School. And one of your early mentors, Fred Schrader, was one of my favorite band directors. He had us memorize and recite. Being on time is being late. Being early is being on time. Okay, this was in 1972. So when the tardy bell rang, we were expected to be in our seats with our instruments ready to play and with our music on the stands. He made the BandHall our safe haven and our home away from home. You took that saying and added, "To be late is to be sorry." I know you made the BandHalls at McAdams Junior High and Dickinson High School the home away from home for many students. And I bet every former band student in this audience can still quote this expectation for being on time. And I also bet they are never late because of the life skills they learned through their band experiences. We thank you, Wade, for all you have given to Dickinson ISD, and we are so proud to name the McAdams Junior High BandHall in your honor. You have loved this district and your students, and just look at this audience. We love you back.
Good evening. I'm going to read to you tonight some background on Mr. Mack. Now, to me, he will always be Mr. Mack, but in here it says Wade an awful lot. I would never say that otherwise, but I will read it the way it is tonight. Norman Wade McDonald was born on January 17, 1956, to Fred and Alice McDonald in Texas City, joining his two sisters, Laura and Cindy. Destined for a career in music, Wade was named after band director Wade Pogue and musician Norman Cunningham, both friends of his parents. Wade grew up in the home of his #1 mentor in the band world, his Phi Beta Mu Hall of Fame father, Fred McDonald. Mr. Mack Sr. loved his work, his students, his music, his family, and his Lord, and passed on to Wade each of these loves in his life. Wade was a 1974 graduate of Brazoswood High School. The Buck Band, under the baton of Fred McDonald and Rod Cannon, provided Wade wonderful jazz and concert music making with some incredible musicians, which included Greg Dick, Bill Watson, Gary Forst, Randy Luster, Mark Harrell, Bobby Walzell, Don Wee, Audrey Dunn, Sandra Binke, to name a few. His junior high band director was Hall of Fame inductee Ernest Clark, and Harvey Jones was his beginner band director. His elementary music teachers were Lucille Levine and Lola K. Hood, which all had a tremendous impact on Wade's life. After attending 6 years of summer band camps at Sam Houston State University under the leadership of Hall of Fame inductee and TBA Bandmaster of the Year, Dr. Ralph Mills, the decision where to pursue higher education was an easy one. Wade graduated from Sam Houston State University in 1977 and began his teaching career in January of 1978 at BandHall Middle School in Spring ISD as the assistant director to Hall of Fame inductee Fred Schrader, and had the privilege to teach TBA band past president Tom Harrington, beginning trumpet. Wade learned what a fabulous junior high band could sound like while at BandHall Middle School. In March of 1978, Wade married his lovely wife, Jane Brooks Strait of Richardson, Texas. Jane prayed for her husband to become a minister of music. Imagine that. She is by far the better half of this marriage, and all who know her would have to agree. Jane has been his helpmate and prayer warrior now for 44 years and has supported and encouraged Wade through all the challenges of life and in the band world. Being an amazing seamstress as well, Jane gave her time and energy to make 2 beautiful sets of band dresses or uniforms for the girls of the McAdams Junior High band program. Jane also took care of the Dickinson High School band uniforms during Wade's tenure there. Just a side note, Jane and Wade celebrated their 25th and 30th wedding anniversaries at Disney World with 100-plus band students. In the fall of 1978, Wade was privileged to join the Dickinson band staff headed by Donnie Owens and John Gossett, beginning his tenure with the Dickinson ISD as the head director at McAdams Junior High. Donnie Owens, 2010 Hall of Fame inductee and Wade's #2 band mentor, demonstrated what it took to achieve excellence with an incredible work ethic and attention to detail that rubbed off on the entire band staff. Greg Dick joined the staff a year later at McAdams Junior High Band and was selected as the TMEA Class CCC Honor Band and performed at the 1981 TMEA Convention. Wade and Greg were in their second and first year of teaching and really had no clue as to what they were doing entering the honor band process. The band had 2 reel-to-reel recordings of their UIL and Galveston Festival performances, which made up the honor band entry tape. Wade took a pair of scissors and Scotch tape and carefully cut out the middle selection of each tape and spliced the recording onto one final tape. Then he took the 2 reel-to-reel tape recorders to dub the backup for the original and submitted these for honor band competition. Obviously, beginner's luck. That's what he says, but I think we know better. In 1992, Wade was awarded the John Philip Sousa Foundation Sutler Cup, and Wade McDonald Day was declared by the City of Dickinson on May 18, 1993. The McAdams Band was once again selected as the TMEA Class CCC Honor Band in 1996. The band had the great privilege to premiere Julie Giroux's Crown of Thorns, composed for the 1997 TMEA performance. Another highlight of that TMEA Honor Band concert was Wade's dad, Fred McDonald, conducting a piece in which Wade played third trumpet and son Joshua played clarinet, having 3 generations on the stage performing together, and 4th generation Granny Myra McDonald sitting in the audience. This was a special day for the McDonald clan. Wade was also presented the National Band Association's Citation of Excellence at this honor band performance. After 24 years at McAdams Junior High, Wade took over the head band director and fine arts director position at Dickinson High School, where his bands had 4th and 3rd place showings at the UIL State Marching Band Contest, as well as being finalists in the TMEA 4A honor band process. His bands were consistent sweepstakes winners and were selected as best in class at numerous contests and festivals. Wade was privileged to present several clinics at both TBA and TMEA conventions, to direct many region and all-city bands throughout his tenure, direct bands at both Sam Houston State and Lamar University band camps, and to serve TMEA Music Region 17 in various leadership positions over the years. The Texas Bandmasters Association presented the Meritorious Achievement Award to Wade in 2012. Dickinson ISD named Wade the Secondary Teacher of the Year in 1999, and he was named the Texas Middle School Association Outstanding Teacher of Region 4 in 2001. Wade retired after 33 years of teaching band and then served an additional 10 years as part-time Director of Fine Arts for Dickinson ISD. He's an active clinician and adjudicator throughout the state and is a member of TBA, TMEA, TMAA, and Phi Beta Mu. Above all, Wade considers his greatest accomplishment to be his lovely wife, Jane, and his 3 children and their families. Joshua, 4-year All-Stater on clarinet, Caleb and his wife, Becky, Megan and her husband, Brian Moreno, band director at Clear Falls, and 7 wonderful grandchildren, Annabelle, Alyssa, Aspen, Eliana, Peter, Hudson, and Andrea. Wade is indebted to his Lord, his family, Dickinson ISD, Dickinson band staff over the years, Phi Beta Mu, and all those that have mentored him, assisted him, adjudicated his bands, and encouraged him throughout his career, as well as all the wonderful students he had the honor to teach. You are the ones that made his bands better, and this honor today possible. Thank you, Mr. Mack.
Before I get started with my remarks, I'd like to thank our superintendent, Carla Vocal, and our school administration, past and present, for their support of the band program for the last 40 years. Dickinson has always valued our band and recognized the many positive aspects it provides for our students. It's rare for a town like ours to have a competitive band for over 4 decades. This generational success is due to outstanding leadership in the classroom and a commitment by the administration to support their efforts. So thank you again for all of your support. My name is Larry Gregory, and I was a saxophone player in Mr. Mack's first beginner band in 1978 when he and his wife Jane arrived at Dickinson. Band directing was in his blood, as his father was a highly regarded director at Brazoswood. Mr. Mack, I remember when he would come and work with us and whatnot, there's always a little extra excitement in the air whenever he would show up, because we didn't want to do something to let you down especially. So, but he was great. Mr. Mack had a vision of how he wanted to run his program. He knew there would be no shortcuts to success. We had to learn how to count, play our scales, and play in tune. What followed under Mr. Mack and a year later with Mr. Dick was one of the main reasons the Dickinson band program became consistently one of the best in the state. You always remember the teachers who expected something more out of you, the ones who would not settle for mediocre or just good enough, the ones who believed in you even though you didn't think you could do it. Mr. Mack set the bar high, and we all had to strive to meet his expectations. Now, I'd love to recount all the funny stories about Mr. Mack and the crazy, outlandish things he said during rehearsal. I don't really have it. I do have that time saying of late or whatever that was. I got that. Although Mr. Mack was never known to be a comedian, I always had fun in his band. I may not have agreed with all the decisions or his evaluations of my abilities were, but he was always fair, and unfortunately for me, he was usually right. Mr. Mack used his calm, cool demeanor to get the best out of us. He never yelled, screamed, or said anything inappropriate in disgust during class. There was no vein in his forehead that would pop out when he was mad. Of course, we all know that's the love from Mr. Owens. With Mr. Mack, you might get a look, maybe that raised eyebrow when things weren't going as planned. You'd receive some encouragement to practice a little more to fix your subpar performance, maybe especially in listening. Good enough was never accepted. I know I received some looks and encouragement from Mr. Mack. In fact, I'm probably one of the few in Dickinson who can attest to the varied motivational styles of our directors and those in their local web of music greatness. A lot of us here remember Evelyn Creed. Fabulous lady, amazing. Well, she asked me to leave one time after about 16 bars in my solo. That's a polite way of saying she kicked me out of her house because I was wasting her time. I see a lot of nods. I doubt it happened to you. She may have still been recounting me. However, she was definitely unimpressed with my sight reading abilities. I think it was my senior year, so at least I didn't have to wait on the sidewalk for my mom to come pick me up. Now, Don Owens, he wouldn't let you off that easy. I showed up for a listening one time, just a little unprepared, actually a lot unprepared. The next 15 minutes was full of pain and agony as I melted into the chair. It ended with him saying, "That's as bad as Ned in the first reader," or something like that. I don't know, but the vein was there. So, thank you, Mr. Mack. I always liked your style. And for the record, no saxophone player was hurt or injured by Miss Krieg or Mr. Owens. But I did show up prepared for next time, that was for sure. Mr. Mack was a great leader. He somehow was able to motivate a bunch of 12 to 14-year-olds to learn to read music and play a new instrument. Then a year later, compete to be one of the best junior high bands in the state. He instilled within us the discipline and desire to be great, often without us realizing how good he was at his craft. As an unaware teenager, you think what happens in your band hall is what happens in every band hall. You quickly realize that is not the case when you hear other bands at contests. Mr. Mack was also a great salesman. In 8th grade, we performed at the TNEA convention as the honor band from the previous year. One of the pieces he selected for our performance featured the flute section and was accompanied by a few players from the rest of the band. Our flutes were pretty good. And if a saxophone player says the flutes are pretty good, they're probably actually outstanding. Which they were. I think Mary Santarelli has something to do with that as well. Anyway, since this selection did not require the full band, the only time we had to rehearse was during our lunch period. So he told us how great this was going to be and convinced all of us to give up our lunch period for a while leading up to the performance. Now, I'm not sure we had much of a choice, but it sounded good coming from him. That was a huge sacrifice for us, especially with all the social implications of missing lunch with all your friends. We didn't have cell phones at the time, obviously, so lunch is where it all happened. But we gladly did it, and the result was incredible. For many of us, like Ms. Vogel said, for many of us, the band hall was an escape for the usual life of a kid in junior high. We spent a lot of time together and developed strong friendships. The band hall was where we wanted to hang out. Mr. Mack always knew what was going on, and we all enjoyed being around him. Mr. Mack is obviously a professional music educator. He has so much knowledge and expertise, along with the ability to communicate concise and clearly defined instructions to improve your performance. My wife, Kristen, and I have 2 daughters, both of whom went through the Dickinson band program. Mr. Mack worked with them on their region music before their audition. Our girls were always amazed at how much he helped them just by giving a few small pointers. You know, usually on air and phrasing. He was always so good at things like that. It's very easy to understand, yet so meaningful. And obviously, it was a joy for me to watch him work his magic with Lauren and Claire. I'm so happy our girls had the opportunity to learn from Mr. Mack and all of my band directors. It was at one of these sessions, Mr. Mack mentioned to Lauren that Dickinson began to achieve greater success around the time I was in junior high and on through, and then for the many years afterwards. He named many of my classmates and classmates from around my class. And I know many of you are in here who were students of his. I can assure you that Mr. Mack is very proud of all of his band kids. While it was very gracious of Mr. Mack to maybe make me look a little better in front of my daughter, I believe he may have been stretching the truth just a little bit. We did have some very talented kids in my class and the ones around us. But looking back, I think the main aspect of Dickinson's success during that area and beyond was actually a big part of Mr. Mack. He and Mr. Dick supplied the high school with a stream of dedicated and disciplined kids who wanted to work hard and succeed. That was what we did. It was all we knew. The next time you drive by the high school, take a look at the dates on the exterior of the band hall. Those achievements were after the high school was full of Mr. Mack's former students. My class graduated in 1985. Mr. Owens and Mr. Gossett were Texas band legends in their own right and were in the prime of their impressive careers. Together with Mr. Mack's kids, they created a monster of a band program that continued today. To borrow a favorite expression of Mr. Owens, that I think if you were with Mr. Owens, you'll probably remember him saying this at least a lot. He would always say that you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. And well, anyway. But Mr. Mack and Mr. Dick, they created a pipeline full of silk up to the high school for Big O and Mr. Gossett to make that purse every year in the high school. Like many of you, I'm thankful for those four men. They worked us hard, demanded excellence, and encouraged us to achieve. We also knew the value of being part of something bigger than yourself. Important skills, not only through high school, but later in life as well. They also cared about us more than we ever knew. They prepared us for life and the many challenges that may come. That's how all of the directors in Dickinson since have approached their job. That's why our program is still relevant after more than 40 years. The men and women we follow are standing on the shoulders of these great men. A lot of you are aware of a common football reference known as a coaching tree, usually when talking about Nick Saban of Alabama. It's just as true for band. The band director tree here in Dickinson is like one of those big, sprawling Texas live oaks, and it continues to grow. They all take a little of Mr. Mack and our other great directors, past and present, with them as they stand before their students, teaching them to read music, learn their skills, play in tune, and desire to be great. I bet you'll even find one of those time signs somewhere in the band halls. I'll close simply by saying Mr. Mack is a humble man of purpose, integrity, and devotion. He's devoted to God, devoted to his wife Jane and their children and grandchildren, and he is devoted to the Dickinson Band program. Few teachers reach more kids than coaches and band directors. Thousands of kids came through our band halls during his tenure. Wade McDonald was a positive influence on all of us. I'm thankful to be one of his students. Thank you, Mr. Mack, and congratulations on this well-deserved honor. We love you and are very proud of your success.
Just one more. We're almost done.
Encouraging the kids. One more, just one more.
Well, when I found out I was going to follow Larry, I was like, oh no, oh no. 'Cause he's great. For those that don't know, the first year I came to Dickinson, Larry played tenor sax in my band. And he was probably about this tall, and the tenor sax was taller than him, and I'd look over there, Larry, are you over there today? And so I've known him, since that first year that I came here and taught. And what's really neat is his mother and my mother-in-law were in the Gator Band in the early 50s. There was a picture up in the band hall of the Twirlers, and that was my mother-in-law and his mom. And then I taught his cousins too when I was in Friendswood over the years. So I go way back with the Gregory family. Really feel honored about that. So that's a really neat thing about that. Well, I'm real honored to be here tonight to speak. When John asked me to come and talk tonight, man, I just couldn't wait to do it. I was so excited to share all that Wade has done with everybody and what he's done over the years for all the kids that he's taught. It's just really, really good. My name's Greg Dick, for those that hadn't figured it out yet. And I was Wade's assistant from 79 to 88, for 9 years. I've known Wade since the 7th grade. I went to junior high in the 7th grade, and then he was in the 8th grade band. I'd heard about him and his dad, got to know him a little bit. And then we were in high school band together, and then we both went to Sam Houston and had Dr. Mills together, and then we came here and we worked 9 years together. So I added it up. It comes to about 54 years that we've known each other. So that's quite a big number, but the time's flown by. and we've been really good friends, and our families have been really good friends. Our kids grew up together, and we're really good. Joshua and my son used to be, when they were little, in my backyard. And my son had a little Fisher-Price drum, and Joshua would have something that looked like this, and they marched around the backyard, pretending they were in the Gator Band. I've got video of that, or pictures of that, if you're interested in seeing that. But that's the kind of relationship that we had when we were growing up. It was great. Tonight has been really neat. They said so many nice, wonderful things about Wade, but newsflash, in high school, he wasn't always as perfect as we made him out to sound tonight. So I figured y'all just get a little glimpse of that, just a little bit. But anyway, in band rehearsal, if he was talking and got caught, you know, he would get in trouble with his dad, you know, kind of like a preacher's kid. And of course, what did the rest of us do? We all laughed. And that happened quite frequently. Trumpets just like to talk a lot. Where are they? There they are. Yeah. There's just something about trumpets. They just like to talk a lot. So he'd get in trouble with his dad. We'd all laugh. And then there was a Friday night in Port Lavaca, and the field was muddy, and we were marching our halftime show, and some of the twirlers went the wrong way. Of course, we followed them, because that's what we did back then. And so it was pretty chaotic on the field that night, Port Lavaca. You know, and from Lake Jackson to Port Lavaca, there's like 3.5 hours on a yellow bus, and we didn't have air conditioning on the bus in those days. So it was a pretty miserable trip. Anyway, Mr. Mack was really mad, Mr. Mack Sr., because of what happened at halftime. So after the game, you know, the directors always go through the stands and get the extra stuff. And Wade found a Shako. Now, how many know what a Shako is? Okay, good. All right. If you don't, we used to wear these big white hats that were like this tall on our head, kind of like from the British military. They were like this tall, white, and they were kind of fuzzy, you know, kind of like I don't know, like a bathroom rug, so to speak, like this. And they were huge. They were really, really big. And so Wade found one, you know, and he remember his dad was really, really mad. And he walks up to his dad and says, Dad, I found the hat. What are you going to do? I don't care. Just get rid of it. So Wade just takes it, just throws it in the mud. And all of a sudden, it's a black Shako. And, oh, did he get in trouble? Yeah, and we're all on the buses. So we laughed every chance we had when he'd mess up. So he wasn't perfect. Close to it, as we've all said tonight. Really close to it, but not quite perfect. But we had a great time in high school band with his dad and Rod Cannon. We just had a ball. His dad always told us an Aggie joke at the beginning of rehearsal every single day. And I think the 4 years I had him, I think every one of them was different. I think because there's that many of them out there. But that was great. We really, really enjoyed that. But anyway, to get serious about it, when I came to work in Dickinson, it was wonderful and fulfilling to work with Wade. I mean, I was just so lucky. He was already a friend of mine, and he became my mentor as a young band director. Always encouraging, always teaching me, and a cheerleader to me when I needed it. And to show how helpful he was, one time he invited me over to his house, and Wade James fed me dinner. And we got our reel-to-reel, and we recorded my band. And he was sitting there playing the band back to me, and he'd play a little bit and go, Greg, can you tell that's not together? You know, lining up. And I said, no. Okay, so he'd play some more. Greg, can you tell if that's out of tune or not? I'm like, no. And he'd see the look on his face, it's like, yikes! I've got a lot to teach this guy. And he did. He stayed patient with me. He helped me out for all these years, because I was just a dumb drummer when I came out of college. I just played drums. So I had to learn how to do all this band stuff. But the drums in the high school marching band were really good back then. Yeah, Larry remembers that. But anyway, so he started helping me then, and then throughout my whole career, he helped me. He'd come over and help my band and play my bands, and I learned so much from him. And again, he was always encouraging and a cheerleader. Okay, that's one of the greatest gifts that he has, is to make other people feel so awesome. There we go. I'll get it out. Okay, now another quick story. When I came, the summer I came, we have summer band. I walked into the BandHall at McAdams Junior High, the old high school, and it was this real dingy, brown, it was gross looking. You know, I was excited, I was going to be a new teacher. But he decided we were going to paint the band hall. So he goes to maintenance and grabs a couple gallons of that light blue paint. Y'all seen that in many schools. So we started painting, and we ran out of paint. So, great, go get some more. So I went to maintenance and got some more. And then he went, and I went. Next thing you know, we were painting the office, the practice rooms. And the next thing you know, we went next door and we painted the choir room. We couldn't leave that dingy too. And then, lo and behold, some maintenance people showed up. What are y'all doing? We were like, oops, because we didn't ask permission. We took the painter's job away from them. But they let us finish, and we painted that whole building over there, if you've ever been in it, a nice light blue. So it looked really, really good. And so, and the reason we did it is because, you know, Wade always put the kids first. He always put the kids first and foremost. And he wanted them to have a fresh, nice smelling, good-looking band hall that would motivate them when we walk in. And that's what it did when we got the paint. Because, I mean, it looked like dirt on the walls. It really did. So that was the beginning of me learning to work hard and how hard you have to work to have a great band program here in Dickinson. Because that was my introduction to it. So that was really, really cool. Okay? Robert Baker read Wade's bio earlier, and as you heard about his career, it can't be topped. But more than accolades is the impact that Wade has had on his students over the years. And I'm going to read a few excerpts from a few notes that kids sent to Wade over the years. And this will give you a real gist of the impact that he had on kids. In 2006, he got an email that said, Mr. McDonald, did you teach band in the mid-80s at Dickinson ISD? I'm looking for my band teacher I had in junior high. I would appreciate a response back. And Mr. Mack emailed back and said, yes, that was me. And the fellow emailed Mr. Mack back and said, yes, I was in your band. I have had a successful run over the past 15 years, and that is the reason for me finding you, Mr. Mack. I want to thank you for believing in me during the rough times in my life. My parents divorced, my father lost his job, and we were living day by day. I look forward to your class every day. You taught me to believe in myself. I want to thank you for that. You believing in me changed my life. This is the reason I went into the profession. I wanted to help guide and lead others to in the fashion that you have. He's a school superintendent now. That's a really good one. And I still remember that young man. I really, really do. He didn't do high school band. He played football. But really outstanding young man. Outstanding young man. And here's another one. Well, it's homecoming. It hasn't been the greatest day, though, for one. Wearing a monk gets tired after a while. In band, Mr. Mack liked me because I wasn't in my chair when he was ready to start. I know it is my fault, so I'm not mad or anything, but I hate it when he gets disappointed with me. He is one of the people who I respect most in the world. If he and I'm sorry, and when he gets disappointed with me, I feel like I'm not doing well that day. And I try hard. I will always give 100% to Mr. Mack so he won't be disappointed. But that's really cool. That's a really, really neat one. And then here's one where a young lady, one of the students, went to a Christian bookstore and found a plaque and wrote this note to me. The plaque said, one who advances, give your worries to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will never let good people down. Psalm 55:22. And this student wrote, I thought they meant Mr. Mack. You are one who advances, but you take the whole band with you. You've never let us down, and you have taken us higher than all of my expectations. You are a true teacher of music and faith, and I hope to be back in your band soon. So that's really cool. Okay, and then this last one right here, Reedy. Mr. Mack, there's no easy way to say goodbye, but for someone who's known you as long as we have and gotten close to you as we have, in the 3 years we finished, which I've known there was never been what I would call a dull moment. Also in these 3 years we've known you, we became more than band students and band director. Somehow when we weren't looking, we became friends over the years. So you can tell this is a student that had you in junior high, from grade 6 to 8. Many times, as we bowed our heads, I would thank God for what He'd given us in you. You are truly one of the best teachers any of us have ever had. You teach us with a realness that no other teacher has. It takes a great deal of courage to stand in front of 7th and 8th graders. You teach us from the heart and give us nothing less than your very best every day. Through you, Mr. Mack, we are able to look at the world in a whole new perspective. Even when it seemed hopeless and as if it couldn't be done, you were always there to support us just when we were about to give up, encouraging us to reach a little bit past the horizon and put 150% of our best effort forward. We were truly blessed to have you as our teacher. So that's really cool. That's what students over all his career really felt about him. So I thought it'd be kind of good to hear it from kids and not just from us tonight. So that's really encouraging. So you can hear he has a heart for kids, and the kids knew it, and they were impacted for life by him. This family man, faithful man, hard worker, understanding, and patient. To me, that's what true teaching is all about. Wade's dad once told us we don't teach music to kids. We teach kids music. Profound. That's really profound. So that's a really neat statement. Wade's highly respected across the state, and he was very successful, but he's always friendly, encouraging, inspirational, positive, complimentary, and makes you feel like you're someone. That's what's really neat. So he stays busy throughout the state these days, working, clinicking, and doing all kinds of really neat things. Mr. Owen, that Larry talked so much about, wrote this to Mr. McDonald. Mr. Owen said, "Too often we get lost in the shuffle of trying to do our jobs and we forget what to say. Thanks for the great job in training our kids and for your example of leadership to all of us. I can honestly say that I never worry about the organization of the McAdams Band program, the techniques involved in producing a musical performance, and for the values of music that you have instilled in the young bandsmen. We appreciate your work. There's only one thing that would be more fun than band, and that would be, where am I? I'm sorry, I need glasses. There it is, and that would be sitting around a campfire with a hot cup of coffee in Colorado, of course, and all y'all know he goes to Colorado every summer, wondering where we should fish today. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Okay. All right, so like so many, Wade's been a big influence in my life and the life of my family as well. If he hadn't hired me, I wouldn't have met the love of my wife, Linda, who was a DHS grad and a Gator band member who had Mr. Owens. Wade and Jane and Mr. and Mrs. Owens, I think, played matchmaker when I came. So it just kind of seemed that way. But our two families have been together all these years. We've been friends. The kids grew up together, and we've gone to church together all these years. And it's just been really good. Jane, again, like Larry said, has been the strength of him all these years, and it's just a wonderful person and human being, and prayed, and we really appreciate that. So, naming this band hall for someone who's given his all to this community for 30 plus years is a tremendous honor. It is gratifying to know that students past, present, and future will know about his legacy. So I'd like to close with a poem that his dad wrote, and this really encapsulates what, and the poem is called "This Day" by Fred McDonald. I will teach with the enthusiasm of my first year of teaching. I will be as interested in details as if it were the day before contest. I will remember that every student has the right to expect an exciting and interesting experience in my class. I will teach with love and compassion as if I knew that this was the final day that God would allow me to teach. That's Wade McDonald. Give him a big one. Congratulations, Wade. else want to come up and talk? Ooh, there's way too much, way too much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I can say. What else can you say? Oh my goodness. It's a kind of embarrassing. It's very humbling. And much appreciated. It's heartfelt. Good expression. You know, I'm blessed. I got to work with your kids. I got to teach you. I got to work with you. And this doesn't get better than that. You know? I want to tell you just a little bit, I'm going to be brief. Like another time. About 14 pages. You know, I really feel that the Lord's led me all the way. And I'm grateful for that. So let me go back just a little bit. And first of all, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for honoring this old man tonight. And for blessing me so much with your lives and your help. I have a great staff, wonderful people to work with. From great, Mr. Owens, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Lee, Mr. Brown, and the list goes on and on, and Robert, and John, and all the folks. So forgive me if I'm mentioning it. But I have been wonderful people to work with, and the team is always one, and I'm grateful for that. And let me back up. The Lord's always been in the middle of my life, and I want to just tell you how it all started. There was a guy named, his name was Frank Hubert. Maybe I've never heard that name before. Just curious. Frank Hubert was my dad's mentor. Back in the 40s, 50s, I mentioned that name to you because he became the dean of the College of Education at Dickinson. Back in, I think about 69, 70, 71, and then continued through the early 80s, I believe. But he had inspired my dad to go into music, which inspired me to go into music, which inspired Greg to go into music, and some other folks to go into music. And my dad, the kids called him Mac Daddy. Mac Daddy. Those were his grandchildren, if you think about it. I get to work some of my students' bands as well, too. I'll be working Colin's band, Colin Weaver's band, and those are my grandchildren. I love my grandchildren. It's very special. Sometimes I don't want to be on children, don't you, Doctor? But he started that, Frank Hebert did, put that love of music into Dad, and Dad passed it on to me. And I'm just grateful to the Lord that I had the opportunity to do what I do, because it's been a joy. It's been just a pleasure. And, you've heard about all these stories about my life, about my family and so forth. Those light blue dresses, you saw those? She made those. Those dark blue dresses, she made those. And, but more than anything, just the her support and encouragement day in, day out. So, thank you, Jane. Here, Jane. Anyway, I can go on and on and on. I got a list of folks I want to thank, and I don't want to dismiss people, and I'm kind of going, y'all go way overboard on this, and I'm just grateful. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, folks. Thank you so much. Everybody who had a part in this, everybody that's really had some part in it, are here. So thank you so much. All right. I think I'm done. Yeah. Go for it. We got a fight going up here.
Yeah, they did a great job. Thank you, guys. Thanks for